Hi, everybody. This is Tim Keefe, and I'm the CEO of SDSS Global. It's my privilege today to be the moderator for this incredible forum on Trust Matters 2025. The topic is cyber resilience and the future of secure CRM. And today we have an amazing panel of experts in the field of cybersecurity. And I'm going to kick off with our keynote speaker, Jamie Giroux. Jamie is the Chief Information Security Officer protecting over 50 companies and the author of Stop Training Robots: How Emotional Intelligence Transforms Cybersecurity. With over 25 years in the field, he created the Giroux methodology, the first framework integrating emotional intelligence with cybersecurity operations. Jamie holds a master's degree in advanced cybersecurity from Rochester Institute of Technology and serves as president of Integrated Intelligence, Inc. Jamie is a good friend, and I've known him for a long time, and very, very happy that he's here with us today. We also have today with us Andreas Wieman. Andreas is a co-author and co-conspirator of mine, sometimes a friend. Andreas is the CXO here at SDSS Global, co-author of Stop Doing Stupid Stuff, with over 20 years leading customer experience initiatives. Andreas specializes in humanizing interactions across organizations by integrating technology, talent, and practical strategy. His approach balances operational excellence with regulatory compliance, safety, and security, creating environments where employee engagement and customer satisfaction reinforce each other. Also with us today, we have Dan Hernandez. Dan is the founder of CEO of PCS Technology. We're transforming a San Francisco-based IT firm since 1989 from a break-fix operation to the Bay Area's leading management service provider, specializing in cybersecurity. A pioneer in the security as a service field, Dan has helped hundreds of medium-sized businesses and nonprofits implement enterprise-level security and compliance framework. His philosophy emphasizes proactive risk management over reactive problem solving, helping organizations understand and mitigate risks they didn't even know they have. Additionally, today we have with us Mike Mahoney. Mike is the Executive Vice President and Director of Brokerage at Trios Intermediary Insurance Services, a digitally focused insurance intermediary specializing in management liability, professional liability, and cyber technology risk placement. With over a decade of wholesale brokerage experience, Mike has helped thousands of organizations procure and optimize their insurance programs. Trios is a sister company of Heffernan Insurance Brokers under the Heffernan Group umbrella, together providing comprehensive specialty insurance solutions and risk management services across the United States. This is truly an exceptional group. I've known many of these people for a long time, and it's just an absolute pleasure to be here today. So with that, I'd like to tee up Jamie and the Giroux methodology. So Mr. Giroux, you have the floor.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning, all, and thank you for being here with me this morning. It's truly an honor to present to you, the SDSS and Transform CX family. Before I start, I want you to do something for me, and I want you to take a minute and take a deep breath, a real breath. Not the shallow chest breathing that we do between incidents and board meetings, but a deep one. And let's take one more. And do you feel that? This is the first time, it might be the first time that you're actually been present in your own body. And it's for most CIOs or CISOs or CTOs, it might be the first time this week that we're present in our own body and we feel this way. I want to start with a story that might surprise you. In the 1990s, I was lying in a hospital bed broken, literally. A catastrophic car accident had shattered every bone in my lower body, but it broke more than just bones. Medical reports called it multiple traumas with complications, but what we didn't capture was that I was disappearing. For months I laid in that hospital bed. I had nothing but time, pain medication, and a laptop that someone had brought me, thinking that this would help to pass the time. I'd stopped eating, not consciously at first, but then deliberately. My weight had dropped to dangerous levels, the doctor treating the traumas to my body, but nobody was treating or addressing the trauma to my spirit. I was choosing to fade away one refused meal at a time. The nursing staff would chart it as patient refused dinner, patient refused breakfast, clinical notes for an unclinical decision, but I was giving up. Then at 3 a.m. one morning, isn't it always 3 a.m. when these life changes happen? Nurse McIntosh walks into my room. I don't think she was originally scheduled to be on my floor. I don't even think she was originally scheduled to be on my shift. But there she was, this force of nature in scrubs carrying nothing but attention. And she did something that nurses aren't supposed to do, or typically don't do. She sat on the edge of my bed, not in the visitor's chairs, not standing with a chart. She sat close enough that I couldn't look away. And she sat close enough, and she said, I've been looking at you and I've been watching you for weeks, and you're making a choice. And I need you to be honest about it. You can choose to live or you can choose to die, but you need to choose because this is between this slow fade. This is not a choice, that's fear. So what's it going to be? And nobody had talked to me like that. Not the doctors with their medical optimism, not my family with their desperate encouragement. And she saw through it all to the decision I was avoiding. And I stared at her for what felt like forever. And I said, I don't know how to choose to live. And she smiled and said, not a happy smile, but a knowing one, and said, sure you do. You start by eating breakfast, then you take lunch. And then you open up that laptop for something other than an escape. You take one choice at a time until choosing to live becomes a habit. The conversation changed everything for me. I chose to live. And with that choice came another one, what to do with the skills I was developing on that laptop. Because here's the thing, it's the mid-90s, and when you're lying in a hospital bed with nothing but time and an internet connection, you learn some things. I became a hacker, not the kind you're thinking of. Well, actually, it was exactly the kind you're thinking of. I had skills, I had time and honesty. Honestly, I had the anger at the world that had put me there. I could have used these abilities to tear down, to take advantage of a universe that had felt cruel or random. I could use them to build up, to protect, and prevent others from experiencing loss. So I chose to be good. At the time, I didn't have a name for what Nurse McIntosh had done. I didn't understand her intervention worked when all the medical protocols hadn't. She wasn't treating symptoms, she was connecting human to human at exactly the right moment at exactly the right message. It wasn't until years later during my master's at RIT that I discovered the framework that explained it, emotional intelligence. I was taking a leadership course and one of the professors was droning on about Goleman's competencies, and suddenly I was back in that hospital room. That's what she had. That's what she used. That's what saved my life. That choice, that fundamentally human emotional choice, sparked sparked by one nurse's emotional intelligence, has defined my entire career. And today I want to talk to you about why emotional intelligence isn't just a nice to have in cybersecurity leadership. It's a force multiplier that will determine whether we win or lose the battles ahead. So let's be real about where we are right now. Cybersecurity professionals' tenure is approximately 26 months. 26 months. That's barely enough time to design a strategic strategy, let alone see it through. So why are we burning out faster than a zero-day exploit in the wild? It's not the technology. We're technical people. We thrive on complex problems. It's not even the threats, really. There's something oddly satisfying about outsmarting bad actors. It's the human element that's killing us. We're managing an impossible equation. Cyber resilience has become our top priority, not preventing attacks, but ensuring we bounce back when they happen. And notice I said when, not if. AI has entered the chat on both sides of the battlefield, and we're scrambling to figure out if we're better or worse off. Every morning I wake up wondering, is today the day AI-generated attacks outpace our AI-enhanced defenses? We're 3.12 million cybersecurity professionals short globally. 3 million. That's not a gap, that's a chasm. And the ones that we have are burning out faster than we can replace them. Our budgets are flat, while threats grow exponentially more sophisticated. The board wants innovation, digital transformation, but somehow expects security to be the cost, the same as it did in 2015. And we're losing people not because they can't handle the technical challenges, we're losing them because they can't handle the human ones, the crushing weight of always being on. Do you remember the last time that you went on a vacation and didn't actually take your phone? There's always that fear. What if something happens when I'm gone? What if I miss the indicator that could have prevented the breach? I've consulted across numerous industries, healthcare systems protecting patient data that literally represents life and death, financial institutions safeguarding not just money, but people's entire futures, law enforcement agencies defending national security while balancing civil liberties. The pattern is always the same. Our technical defenses are only as strong as the humans operating them. And those humans, they're struggling. Here's what we don't talk about enough at conferences and seminars like this, that every security failure I've investigated, every single one, has had a human element at its core. Not human error, human emotion. So let's talk about emotional intelligence. Not the soft skill that we're reluctantly acknowledge in HR training, as the operational capability that will define successful security leadership in 2025 and beyond. When I started researching this, trying to understand what Nurse McIntosh had done that night and why her intervention succeeded where medical protocols had failed, I discovered Daniel Goleman's work. Research shows that EI accounts for 58% of job performance in leadership roles. In cybersecurity, I argue it's even higher because we're not just managing technology, we're managing fear and uncertainty and constant change. When I learned what Nurse McIntosh had demonstrated in 5 components of emotional intelligence in a single conversation, she was self-aware enough to recognize when to break protocol. She regulated her own emotions to deliver hard truth and compassion. She had the empathy to understand what I needed to hear. She used her social skills to connect at exactly the right level. And she was motivated by something deeper than doing her job. She was motivated by possibly saving a life and motivated by caring. Now, years later, I see the same components as a foundation of exceptional security leadership. And every one of us has triggers. For me, it's when someone might question the severity of a risk I've identified. My heart rate spikes, my jaw tightens, suddenly I'm not thinking clearly and I'm defending. And I'm back in that hospital bed fighting to be heard, to be believed, or to matter. But here's what I've learned. That physical response is data. It's my internal threat detection system saying, hey, something important's happening here. And the question is, do I react from that triggered place or respond from awareness? I had a board member who once loved to say, yeah, you're just being paranoid. Every single meeting. My initial response was to flood him with data to prove that I was paranoid, to defend my position, or the fury of 1,000 suns. It never worked. He'd just smile and say, see, you're still paranoid. Then I learned to pause, to notice my trigger and to ask myself, what's he really saying? Turns out he wasn't questioning my competence, he was managing his own fear. His way of dealing with scary possibilities was to minimize them. Once I understood that, I changed my approach. Instead of defending, I'd say, I understand it's uncomfortable. Let me show you how we can control what we can control. And he became my biggest advocate. So try this. Next time you're in a high stress situation, and let's face it, it's probably in an hour, take 5 minutes, just 5. Let's notice what's happening in your body. Are your shoulders up by your ears? Is your breathing shallow? Is your leg bouncing out of the table like you're trying to drill through the floor below you? That awareness alone changes everything because now you have choice. You can stay in a triggered state or you can start to regulate. We all have incident response playbooks for security breaches, 27 steps for ransomware, 43 steps for data exfiltration. What's in your playbook for when you're about to lose it in a board meeting? What's in your playbook when a team member drops the ball on a critical project? Or when you're on hour 20 of an incident and someone asks, well, why didn't we prevent this? Here's mine, and I have a phrase, I repeat it internally, curious, not furious. Instead of how could you have missed this, it becomes help me understand what happened here. Instead of the board doesn't get it, it becomes what am I not communicating clearly? This isn't about being soft, it's about being strategic. When I'm furious, my IQ drops 30 points. I get tunnel vision and I miss options. When I'm curious, I see patterns, I find solutions, and I inspire rather than intimidate. Empathy in cybersecurity isn't about group hugs and feeling circles. It's about intelligence gathering at the human level. When I understand that my SOC analyst is a single parent juggling remote schooling, I can better support them. When I understand that my CEO's resistance to security investment stems from a previous vendor who overpromised and underdelivered, I can address the real concern. When I see that my junior engineer is overwhelmed but too proud to ask for help, I can create space for them to succeed. Empathy isn't weakness, it's intelligence. It's understanding the full operating environment, not just the technical landscape, but the human terrain. We're great at technical integrations, APIs, webhooks, automated workflows, and we can make systems talk to each other seamlessly. But what about making humans connect? Your ability to build relationships, navigate politics, and create coalitions in your human API. It's how you get CFO to understand why you need the budget increase, how you get developers to care about security, and how you turn compliance checkbox exercise into a cultural value. In the 1990s, lying in that hospital bed, I found out my why. It wasn't about the technology. It was about using my skills to protect who struggled with protecting themselves. Every line of code I write, every policy I implement, every team I build, it all connects back to that choice to live, to help others to grow together. What's your why? And most importantly, do your team members know theirs? Because when people connect their daily grind to a larger purpose, they don't burn out, they light up. The SOC analyst isn't just reviewing logs, they're protecting families' financial futures. The compliance officer isn't just connecting boxes or checking boxes, they're ensuring trust in digital systems that society depends on. I make sure everyone on my team completes the sentence, my work matters because. One junior analyst told me, my work matters because somewhere there's a kid whose parent won't lose their job to a data breach I prevented. That's not someone who's going to burn out. That's someone who's going to run through walls the next time there's a crisis. Let me share what this looks like in practice. These aren't theoretical concepts. These are battle-tested approaches from the trenches of real cybersecurity operations. Every Monday, my team doesn't start with threat briefings or vulnerability reviews. We start with a simple question on a scale of 1 to 10. What's your capacity today? No judgment, no explanation required, unless they want to share. It's just data. Because when someone says they're a 4, we adjust. Maybe they don't lead incident response drills that day. Maybe they partner with someone who's an 8. Maybe they focus on documentation instead of high stress activities. This isn't coddling, it's resource management. Would you run a critical system at 40% capacity without addressing it? One Monday, my best incident responder came in and said, I'm at a 2. It turns out his father had just been hospitalized. We immediately redistributed all on-call duties. 2 weeks later, when we had a critical incident, he was back at a 9 and led the response flawlessly. If we'd burned him out when he was a 2, he wouldn't have been able to be there when we needed him the most. We borrowed the bug bounty concept for emotional intelligence. Team members can disclose vulnerabilities on their own stress points, triggers, or challenges without fear or retribution. Just like security vulnerabilities, we treat these disclosures as valuable intelligence that makes our entire system stronger. After every major incident, we do the technical postmortem, of course, but we also do what I call an emotional postmortem. How did we handle the stress? Where did communication break down? Who needs recovery time? What emotional debt did we incur? And how do we pay that back? The next time we had a major incident, our responses were faster, cleaner, and more effective, not because our tools were better, because our humans were healthier. So we've redesigned our entire career development program around emotional intelligence. Technical skills are table stakes. Of course, everyone here can configure a firewall, but who can navigate a tense stakeholder meeting? Who can inspire a demoralized team? Who can deliver bad news in a way that motivates rather than devastates? We assess and develop 5 EQ competencies. Crisis communication. Can you keep people calm and focused when everything's on fire? Stakeholder empathy. Can you understand and address real concerns behind the resistance? Team resilience. Can you build and maintain high-performing teams under constant pressure? Adaptive leadership. Can you shift your style based on what the situation is and what people need? Sustainable motivation. Can you maintain your own energy levels and help others maintain theirs? Promotions aren't based on who can write the best Python script. They're based on who can build the best humans. Here's what happens when you lead with emotional intelligence. Your people stay longer. The brilliant threat hunter recruiter is chasing, they're not staying because of the ping pong table with a fancy title. They're staying because you saw them as a whole person. You supported them through their divorce. You celebrated their kids' graduation. You gave them space to be human while doing inhuman work. Your team performs better under pressure. When the next SolarWinds happens, when the next Log4j drops, when the next crisis emerges from nowhere, you want a team that trusts each other, communicates openly, and can maintain clarity in chaos. That doesn't come with technical training alone. It comes from emotional investment. Your influence expands exponentially. When you approach a CEO for empathy of their position, with empathy for their position, you understand the CFO's constraints and you connect with the board's concerns. You stop being the department of no and you become a trusted advisor. You stop being a cost center and become a value creator. And here's the beautiful thing. These skills don't just make your team better at work. They go home and they're better parents, they're better partners, and they're better friends. The emotional intelligence you develop in handling cyber crises helps them handle life crises. I think about Nurse McIntosh, who probably never knew the full impact of that 3 a.m. conversation. She didn't know she was influencing the future career of a cybersecurity professional. You don't know whose trajectory you're going to be changing when you choose empathy over ego, connection over control, or humanity over hierarchy. So here's my challenge to you, and I mean this as someone who's been where you are, who's felt the weight you carry, who knows the emotions, the exhaustions that you hide. Starting tomorrow, not the next quarter, not after the next crisis, but tomorrow, implement one emotional intelligence practice. Maybe it's a 5-second pause before responding in meetings. Count it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Feel your feet on the floor, notice your breath, and then respond. Maybe it's journaling. Journal your thoughts and feelings so you can reflect on them later. Maybe it's asking your team about their capacity, not their workload, their capacity, and there's a big difference. Maybe it's admitting to your own struggles. Modeling that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's ultimate strength. Here's the truth. You're not going to out-tech the attackers. You're not going to outspend them, but we can out-human them. We can build teams so connected, so resilient, so emotionally intelligent that they become truly unbreakable. Not because they never fail, but because when they do fail, they fail together, they learn together, and they come back stronger than ever. We can create security cultures where people don't just follow policies, they believe in them because they They helped create them because they understand the why behind them, because they see themselves as protectors, not enforcers. And we can develop leaders who don't just manage incidents, they inspire excellence, especially when excellence feels impossible. The choice I made in the hospital to live, to use my skills for good, wasn't a technical decision, it was an emotional one, a human one. And it was only possible because someone with emotional intelligence reached me at my lowest point. Every day, you make the same choice to choose whether to lead through fear or through trust, whether you see your team as resources or as people, and whether to protect just systems or protect the humans that those systems serve. In a world where AI can code, where machines can detect threats, where automation can respond faster than any human, what's left for us? What's left is what's always mattered the most, our humanity, our ability to connect, to empathize, to inspire, and to care. Our ability to walk into someone's room at 3 a.m., literally or figuratively, and say exactly what they need to hear to change their trajectory. That's not our advantage. That's our responsibility. That's our privilege. That's our power. Because at the end of the day, we're not just chief information security officers, chief technical officers, we're chief human officers. And the most critical vulnerability we need to patch isn't in our code, it's in our culture. Nurse McIntosh changed my life with 5 minutes of emotional intelligence. She probably went home that morning thinking she'd just done her job. She had no idea that she'd set in motion a chain of events that lead me to this moment, to this room, to this conversation. Imagine what you could do with a career worth of such moments, and imagine the lives that you could change, the teams you build, and the cultures you could transform. If you'd like to learn more, link to my book is here, or you can reach me on LinkedIn or reach out to me directly at jamie@giroux.ca. And with that, I thank you so much for your time today. Tim, back to you.
Wow. Hey, Jamie, that was really, really powerful. And I'm taking away some key elements of it just sitting here. Really appreciate the depth and personalization and emotional exposure that you put into that. So just like,
Thank you.
I know from me anyway, that was really powerful.
Thank you.
So good luck to the followers on that one. No, we just have a great team here today. But Jamie, thank you for that. So Andreas, my good friend, sir, and co-author, co-conspirator, and sometimes cellmate, bring us into the world of securing the core in CRM.
Yeah, so it's everything that Jamie just said. And if you go back and look at this replay, I'm like a bobblehead, like everything that he's saying. It's about the people. And that's the side, if you want to take away and to be transparent, Dan, Jamie, everyone else that you're going to hear from, info security experts. I'm more on the people side, the business side. So hopefully I can give you some tips to help operationalize outside of the IT angle of everything that Jamie was talking about. It's so critically important. It's the people aspect. Most of the breaches occur because it's not someone who, you know, accidentally leaves they leave that accidentally leaves the front door open to their CRMs, right? And there's all kinds of other database access, etc. But they do it on accident because they're people. If you try to look at it from a mathematical perspective, it's an ever evolving equation, and the weighting and the variables that are applied to are constantly changing. So if you look at AI, for example, the whole thing everyone's trying to say, hey, AI is going to do all this great stuff. I've yet to see a line item from a publicly traded company. I'm like, yeah, this is attributed to AI and we save this much money. No one's done that yet. Not even, the companies that make AI. I'm sure it's coming, by the way. But the personal aspect and the exposure you have from the people side of cyber incidents and the proliferation that's going to continue. It's going to we haven't even seen what's capable yet and how AI is being used. As Jamie was kind of mentioning this, how AI is being used for social engineering, post COVID and work at home, everything was virtualized. The communication style and the demographic, from the generational age demographic that makes up the global workforce now, they're like, we came up when we were talking on phones. I was presenting to an elementary school the other day and I was talking about AI. And I'm like, who else everybody got scared when it was coming out? The telephone. And then I thought about it and I looked at their faces and they're like, what's a telephone? You mean like the thing we play games on? I'm like, yeah, well, nobody actually picks up the phone to talk anymore. I still do, for the record. I still read regular books. I don't listen to books. I'm also probably a square, I guess, to a lot of people. But the point is there's always this overarching presence of something that's new. And it's fearful because it's new and there's a lot of great stuff that can come with it. There's also a lot of bad stuff that's coming with it as well. In cyber breaches and cyber exposure and social engineering with social media reach right now, it's really no different. And the resiliency factor of everything that Jamie just said. I'm going to share some stats with you in a second on the people side of it. It's really, really important because they're all motivated for some rationale. Most of them are, it's kind of hard out there right now, regardless of where you are in the world. I don't think anybody's sitting back. There's a few people, don't get me wrong, but most people are sitting back like, man, how am I going to pay for rent this month? How am I going to be able to buy enough food, nutritional food, not fast food, et cetera. And if they have a competency in social engineering, some of these phishing scams, and they get a cybersecurity ransom from it because they're withholding data from a company and threatening to release it, and they're getting rewarded for it, then their psychologically, their motivation is going to be high to apply their knowledge to finding new solutions. And even if we have a patch and a new practice that comes out, do you think they're just going to say, "Oh, that's it. Let me, I've been had. Let me just go straight. I'm going to be a straight arrow from." No, they're going to apply the resiliency because of the operant effect of human psychology and motivation, right? So I cannot underscore that what Jamie was saying is so vitally important. It's what motivates people. It's also what motivates people that leave the front door, the virtual front door open on cybersecurity incidents, right? So your people, I'm going to give you some stats. This is from the Gallup State of the Global Workforce 2025 report. These are pretty, and they're on my other screen over here, so I'm going to look away from the camera for a second, but they're pretty staggering stats, and they're getting worse, by the way. They didn't get better year over year. They got worse. And so far, I think they're going to get worse again for 2026. But engagement, employee engagement, 31%. This is the global number of all the regions that Gallup does the annualized surveys on. 31% say they're engaged. That's 69%, right, that say they're not engaged. So to Jamie's point earlier, people are kind of lost out there to be on their own. And now you're talking about, all right, it's really important to make sure you're doing multi-factor authentication. You're not using the same password over and over again and, changing one little digit because it's easy for you to remember, doing all these little things. They're worrying about, oh, I got the sales quota I got to make. I got this marketing collateral that I got to produce on this time. They have all of this weight on their shoulders, and it's not getting lighter, it's getting heavier, right? So 31% engagement, that's not an encouraging number by any means. So life evaluation, thriving, 54% feel like they're thriving, 44% feel like they're struggling, and 2% feel like they're suffering. Not if I don't want to hire someone and be like, hey, are you struggling right now? Are you not engaged? You're the person I want handling my business and my data. So that's what we're up against, and that's the holistic picture. We're not just talking about the slice of cyber security. We're talking about the whole business picture, and that's kind of what I'm focused on. Is how can we make sure we're giving good service to our clients so they say, hey, we want to keep paying for your service. I mean, it's a simplistic way of saying it, but it's all from humans. So a couple more stats, and then I'll get to a little bit more cybersecurity stuff. But daily emotions, stress, 43% say they're stressed on a daily basis. 43%. Who wants to say, oh man, I can't wait to go into work today so I could be stressed out of my mind? Yeah, that helps prevent cybersecurity incidents, right? I'm not going to fall for this phishing scam. I'm totally stressed out, and that stress, makes me productive. 14% are anger, and 19% sadness. 17%, this is a really important one, 17% loneliness. So if you look at the social engineering scams that are going on right now, and some of the things that I've seen, so think about it, and again, from a CRM perspective, you have access to, and you have privileged access depending on your level, but you have access to a whole plethora of data that's out there that nefarious actors, every single day, their job is to get up and think about ways to penetrate into your systems. And now with AI, they can run simulations, and the AI is not, I don't know the right technical way to say this. I don't want to say not smart enough to say, hey, this is a bad person. Maybe we should run this simulation. No, they're gonna prompt it the right way to get the simulation successfully through. And if it has a high enough probability of penetration, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna blast that email out to everyone. And in the background, the social engineering aspect, where 17% people are lonely, 14% anger, and 19% sad, they're gonna say, hey, if I strike up a casual conversation with this person that has all of their social media accounts I've been able to find, let me see if I can befriend them. And then that way they just have a casual interaction and they trust me a little bit more. This is what reality is happening right now, right? So now you have this, I'm probably going to mess up the terminology. So Jamie, feel free to like correct me on some of the stuff that I say, and Dan, but like phishing scams, you have bad actors out there who know exactly what it looks like when your team, your internal team, sends an IT help ticket and creates this like false sense of urgency of saying, "Oh my gosh, Jamie, you got to reset your," and this is all in an email, not me on camera, right? It's an email that comes through, Jamie. If you don't, in the next 2 hours, if you don't reset your password, the world's going to explode. I don't know, some crazy example. They're going to make it more relatable and believable. That's the thing. They're really, really tricky. If they were to give Academy Awards out for like how an email is outlined, they would win hands down. And the whole purpose is to socially engineer sentiment, feelings with people that are lonely, that are sad, that are angry, that are not getting engaged, and saying, hey, what is the probability they're going to click on and open this PDF and let the malware gates open? How are they going to send this email, that has this document that's not encrypted, and instead of sending it through an encryption method on the back end or a link from a repository? No, we're going to send it through email. We're going to do it when we're on Starbucks Wi-Fi because that's super safe to be able to do that. There's not like there's people riding around trying to jump on executives' Wi-Fi and get an intrusive means of access there. No, that doesn't happen. So the point I'm trying to make with all of this is it's really about the people. And when you do have cybersecurity incidents, right, like ransomware events, and people are rewarded, nefarious actors are rewarded from it because the I'm not going to say I agree or disagree, by the way, in this spiel here with the companies paying or not paying, but the exposure they have, and if it gets out into the public realm, that affects their sales, that affects their reputation, that affects. So now you're competing, right? I'm talking cybersecurity, InfoSec, right? Your budget that's already not big enough. I'll openly say right now, you guys do not get enough budget allocation to it. It usually goes to marketing so they can go to, I don't know, Las Vegas to attend some trade show that never results in sales anyways. Should probably be careful. I don't upset any of our sales partners, but it's a really small budget. The problem is when you have a security incident, though, now guess what? Their sales are down because customers are like, well, I'm not doing business, with them. They have a security breach. My data is out there, and now my credit could get, messed up or what. There's this compounding effect that is residual across the entire organization. And to Jamie's point earlier, one of the, rewinds where I'm like bobblehead in here is the CFOs. The CFOs have overall have a lot more weighting in the decision-making process right now because money's a lot tighter for all organizations, for most organizations. I don't say all. NVIDIA, for example, I think they're a little bit bigger, but most organizations a little bit tighter. So now you're competing with all of these budgets, but you've got to be able to explain it in a way that CFO gets it, that the party you're talking to understands it. And the people access, if you want to talk about data, and we'll share all of the stats afterwards, but if you look at the breaches, it's not because there's this sophisticated back end, hacking movement. No, it's people leaving the digital front door open, not on purpose, but on accident. That's the piece that you got to do. You got to engage with your employees more. Even if cybersecurity incidents didn't happen, you got to engage with your people more so they do a better job. I mean, that's not so common sense anymore. But now it's even to a more sophisticated degree that they have to juggle all the complexities of just doing their job. And now they have these, nefarious actors out there trying to scheme ways to make them feel lonely and isolated. And they're there to help them. Well, yeah, they're there to help them because they want to steal the data and ransom it. So you've got to be there for your people, give them training. And like, look, I'm not telling you, but hopefully this doesn't come across in a bad way. Send out phishing examples, yes. I'm not saying stop doing that, but when you get it and you click on it and it's like, oh no, you failed it, and you should do that. Don't get me wrong. You've got to get more inventive with that. All right. There's a whole different the global workplace right now, generationally speaking, we have baby boomers, we have Gen X, we have Gen Y and Z and all the other letters in the alphabet every 5 years that they've made new ones up for. But you have this huge mix of generational employees that are either digitally native first or people that came across and saw both sides, going from analog into digitization, or some people that are more still analog. Most of the people that are more still analog, they were successful in a completely different era, but they're the ones in charge now, so it's a bit foreign. So reverse mentoring for some of the young folks that makes them feel better, makes them feel engaged, but the whole time you're educating. Like we have a saying, Jamie had a really good saying for it. We say, teach, don't tell. Because if you tell someone the memory recall, cognitively speaking, is not going to be present all the time when a situation pops up, and they're going to rely on memorization when they have a million other things to worry about. Now, if you teach them, they're more emotionally vested and they feel like you're going to listen to them when they have a concern and they want to be able to raise something up and gamify it if you can, even at the most simplistic way. You don't have to have them have avatars and all the, fun stuff that comes with that, with gamification. Make it really simple to make sure they're educated and aware. Because if you have good education, their awareness level picks up. And guess what? They're going to stick around. They're going to prevent more cyber incidents and breaches. And when they do, celebrate them, celebritize them, make them, put them on your website. I don't know, our team, makes AI cartoons. They did an AI cartoon of me and they gave me a really cool AI beard because I can't grow a really good beard. So they'll appreciate that. That's what I mean by gamification, but include them in it. They are going to be your biggest bet. There's so much evolution technologically speaking on software and people, but as Jamie said, there's not enough cybersecurity professionals that know what to do with the ever evolving and changing landscape, the variability of the landscape that's there. You need to really rely on your people and include them in the decision-making framework for awareness. And when they see something that's funky, let them have an avenue to be able to express that to you so that way they feel like you're listening and they're a part of the equation. When you do that, the effort you get is volunteered effort. And again, this is what I think Jamie was getting at. It's a volunteered effort. That's very different than a forced effort. The forced effort is going to give you minimal results because you're only going to do as much as that's needed to go on. The volunteered effort is really what you're looking for. So with that, hopefully all of that made sense. And some of the stats there are pretty staggering. But like I said, we'll be able to share this out with everyone afterwards. So appreciate the time. Thank you, Jamie. Amazing. I agree with everything that 99% of what you said. There's one thing in there we'll talk about later.
Thanks a lot, Andreas. And as I sit here on a Starbucks Wi-Fi at a sales expo, I feel a little bit in your crosshairs there. But I really appreciate that, and I think a really good perspective on, that. I love the idea, or not I don't love it. It's terrifying to think of essentially the pig butchering approach to get a lonely employee to give you their credentials and what that can result in, and you don't even know what's happening. So with that, I'd like to bring Dan Hernandez, president of PCS Technology, forward. Dan is an amazing leader. I've known him for a while, and I'm really excited to have him here today. So with that, Dan, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate being here this morning as this topic is very important. As Jamie said, take a breath because the threats and what we're talking about is real. It is time to start paying attention to your IT. UC Berkeley did a case study just recently, and they surveyed 68 nonprofits in San Francisco. 80% of them have had a cybersecurity incident. I've done 115 level 1 risk assessments this year, and every one of them, we find things that are going to be a risk. And so as things have progressed with AI, 2025 has been, in my 40-year career, we've seen more threats and attacks than I've ever seen. I've had several organizations beat ransomware this year with the Kira attack. And what is going on is that hackers are now able to use AI to find vulnerabilities faster than ever. So as things are progressing, we really got to pay attention to some of these things. So the AI-powered attacks are now finding simple vulnerabilities in your firewall, in your unpatched computers, and are getting much better at the phishing attacks. And let me tell you what's going on. So AI can scan and find vulnerabilities faster than ever. With a simple attack to your firewall, they're able to use brute force to gain access to your network and ransomware all your data and encrypt it. Now, a good IT team would be able to restore your data and get you back up in business. We were able to do this with a large architect firm that had 11 terabytes of data encrypted and about 15 of their computers encrypted as well. It took 5 full days to restore that data and reload all those computers and get that operation back up and running. But the problem is now, yes, they didn't have to pay the ransom and they're back in business, but all their data is on the dark web now. So there are going to be other side effects that are going to be happening to that organization as time goes on. So we have to protect ourselves from these threats. And so the risks are real. And I understand we see some big incidences on the news, but what you don't hear about is the day-to-day attacks that I see every day. This year alone, I've had several CEOs be phished and give up their credentials, and the hackers are acting as them and sending out hundreds of emails to their contacts, to their vendors, and spreading that risk. The other thing that's going on right now is your vendor attacks. We're seeing an overwhelming amount of scams as hackers have gotten really smart and they sit in your mailbox. If they gain access to your account via a phishing attack, they can sit in your mailbox and just wait until they see an opportunity to scam you. So the number one thing I tell everybody in all of my meetings is that never, ever make a payment or from an email request that says we're going to now change our bank account. Please wire transfer money to this account or pay this invoice. Always pick up the phone and call them from a known number and verify any changes to any payment. This will prevent 90% of some of these scams. Just never make a change to a payment without verifying it with a known number. You cannot trust the email. The 110 risk assessments I've performed this year, the number one thing that we find is password hygiene. People are not protecting themselves and utilizing a proper password manager. Now, a password manager could be a little inconvenient, but it can also help in your productivity. You can have it on your desktop, your laptop, your iPhone, your iPad, and easily enter your password into all your accounts that are secure and complex. The other thing we see is just computers that are not 100% protected in your environment. So there are computers that don't have the antivirus or other type of tools deployed properly, and that's just sloppy IT. So it's time to pay attention to your IT. The malware attacks and things that are deployed by not having your computers updated and protected is staggering. The other big issue is zero-day threats. It's when you're able to have a vulnerability come up where they have found a threat in your FortiGate firewall, your Windows 11 machine that's not updated, or other types of things that are going on today. So devices need to be updated, patched, and protected as fast as possible because the hackers are able to get into these things quicker than ever. The thing that we are seeing right now is that there are an unlimited amount of vulnerabilities, and as Jamie and Andreas have been talking about, is the people part of this. I'm talking about the simple things that we can do to protect things on the system side of things. And the one tool that we use to protect our clients and our staff, our clients' people from identity threats and things is a concept called zero trust. Now, zero trust is a concept that we're utilizing that instead of waiting until a virus gets on your computer and then we're going to defend against that virus, is that we're not going to trust anything. And so zero trust is a concept now that I highly recommend everybody look into. The other thing that's going on right now is that people, as Andreas and Jamie are explaining, are very vulnerable. The stress level in the world today and the different social engineering that we see is real. I hired a director of IT this year, and within 24 hours, he was receiving text messages from me that were scams. And we basically didn't make an announcement of this. I think maybe it was from a LinkedIn post, but that's how fast people are being attacked. Um, I think that going forward, we really need to pay attention to these threats because they're real. And as I'm talking to people, they're like, no, no one's going to really come after me. But when a hacker is on your computer and moving the mouse and it's not you, there's nothing scarier. So this year, I was at an IT conference in Denver, and there's about 5 CEOs of managed service providers like myself in a SUV going to dinner when the Sonic Wall SSL threat became real and people's systems were going down by the minute. We were scrambling to deploy our teams to turn off the VPN connections to these firewalls. Now, I was lucky that I only had one Sonic Wall in my environment to protect, but some of my peers had 30, 40, 50. And the ransomware attacks were happening very quickly. Now, this is all new in 2025. And so what's coming up next is rogue AI. So my recommendation is that the first thing you need to do in your organization is have an AI policy that you're going to use standards where you're using safe AI that's secure within your environment. You're not going to allow your team to just go out and grab any free AI product out there because these products are going to be vulnerabilities to your organizations very quickly. And so what I highly recommend is that you find an IT professional that can do a risk assessment on your organization because they will find things and then go through the process of remedying those threats. And you can't just do it once a year anymore. I recommend you do this quarterly. Go through and make sure that you're scanning your systems for vulnerabilities on a regular basis to shore up your IT. And there's going to be incidents. Even with the best IT, you're going to have an incident. So work with your professionals and create an incident response plan so that when you do have a threat, you know how to deal with it quickly and professionally and minimize the compromised data and the other things that can go on in your environment. Document this, make sure you have all this plan in place so when you do get attacked, you react professionally and your customers and your partners will see that you're paying attention to this and will know that they can trust you and work with you. So that is my advice for today. It's serious. So take a breath because this is real and it's happening every day. I see this on a daily basis. In 2024, I probably saw this on a monthly basis. So the increase in cybercrime has multiplied by 1,000 times. So pay attention to your IT and hopefully you can take a breath and not be stressed over this because it is real. So I'm going to pass this back to Tim as we want to it's not Halloween today, so don't want to scare everybody. But there are
Well,
things
I'm
you can
feeling
do
a
to
little
protect yourself.
terrified right at the moment, Dan, but just I mean, everything you say is right on, and you see it every day. I think what's fascinating though is there's not enough headlines about it, and people still feel that either I'm too small or I'm on max, and therefore blah blah blah. I mean, everybody, whatever story they want to tell themselves that makes them feel safer when they're not really safe is, I think, important. But so I think that's really well done, and Dan, thank you very much for that. So with that, and I think this is a good wrap up, Mike, bringing you forward now, I think talking about what we can do on the insurance and risk transfer component and what does that look like. So with that, the floor is yours, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you, Tim. Hi, everyone. Nice to be with you today. My name is Mike Mahoney. I am a specialty lines insurance broker I've been helping companies with vetting and sourcing cyber insurance policies for more than a decade now. And cyber insurance policies' main intent are to help cover the costs associated with cyber attacks, data breaches, and other cyber-related incidents. And in today's world, pretty much every business and operation has exposure to cyber claims, regardless of your industry. Um, very in line with what the former speakers were referencing, the leading claims drivers that we see in the marketplace today are ransomware and cyber extortion. This is when a bad actor is hacking or gaining access into your network and systems, and they're demanding a ransom in order to gain back access to your data and operations. The average cost of these claims today are north of $500,000. So it can be extremely expensive, crippling to smaller organizations, and we're only seeing frequency rise on these types of claims. The second leading claim to ransomware would be other cybercrime related claims. Funds transfer fraud, where a bad actor is gaining access to your banking information and are dispersing funds. The other one being social engineering, where somebody is imitating a vendor, a financial institution, a member of the C-suite, and they're inducing somebody within the organization to release funds where they shouldn't be. And the one thing that I really like talking about with these claims is that they're human error driven. Ransomware claims usually are happening from somebody clicking a link or opening something they shouldn't. Social engineering claims happen because somebody in the organization is, flustered, overwhelmed by somebody requesting something urgent, and then just moving on to the next steps to complete the task. So no matter how good your security systems or network protection is, human error is the leading claims driver and leads to costly events. So despite that data that shows that severity and frequency is going up, believe it or not, it actually is a good time to be a buyer in the cyber insurance marketplace. There is a lot of capacity and competition for business, which is driving prices down. Premiums are competitive right now, so the entry into the market isn't overly intimidating or overwhelming from a cost perspective. But carriers do have certain things that they're looking for to make sure that you're a good risk, and that you're not somebody who's a prime target for claims. Some of the key controls that they want to make sure that you as an organization have in place to be able to give you that full breadth of coverage are multi-factor authentication, and they like to see this in place for remote access, email access, and any privileged user accounts. They definitely are going to key in on what your backup procedures are. Do you store them separately, whether that's offline or air gapped, or if you're using a dedicated cloud service? And then they want to make sure that you're performing backups regularly so that if there were to be an incident, that you have a fresh set of data. It's not going back, months or years, and that you can get your operation up and running quickly because if you have good backup procedures in place. Depending on the size, what your revenues are, and what industry you're in, there can be other questions that they might ask you to make sure that you are practicing proper hygiene and that you're a good risk. Some carriers might ask about if you have an email screening vendor, if you have endpoint detection and response in place, and what types of employee training you have. But the good news is that most carriers in today's marketplace are offering additional risk management resources and training. It's pretty typical these days that most carriers are providing scans and notifications of vulnerabilities you might have once you are insured with them. They can help via their security teams, improving your security posture. And all in all, they want you to be a good risk. They're invested in your cybersecurity because they don't want to pay for claims. It's their money on the line once you're an insured. So they want you to be a good insured. They're invested in your cyber hygiene. So I always encourage folks that do get a cyber insurance policy, take advantage of those risk management resources that are made available to you. A lot of them are done free of charge. And then if there's, additional services that you're interested in, or, an arduous task that you want to implement some new type of security or software, you can get discounted rates a lot of times via this relationship as an insurance buyer. A couple things I want to leave everybody with is that, if you're somebody watching this thinking, my company doesn't have any of this, what do we do? Where do we start? You have plenty of options. There's great people on this panel that have companies that specialize with helping insureds get in a good place. Like I said, the carriers want to work with you to help you get to a good place so that you are a viable buyer for the insurance marketplace. And then lastly, make sure you're working with a reputable broker, somebody that knows how to get you proper coverage with adequate limits, the key coverage components and extensions. Not all cyber policies are created equally. A broker might tell you that, hey, we're set. We've got it included in your package. I always strongly recommend people to get dedicated standalone cyber policy insurance. You don't want to have this limit shared with other coverages packaged into a bundle. These claims can be so costly. You want dedicated limit. And you want to make sure that you have all the coverage enhancements and extensions available because, like I said, they're not all created equal, and you want to be working with someone that knows what they're doing and is invested in protecting your company. So that's it for me on the insurance side. I'll throw it back to you, Tim.
Well, Mike, I'm coming away from this panel trying to decide whether I'm terrified or just I should go back to analog, black and white, and everything on paper. But no, this is really great. And one of the things I like to do is just take a couple of minutes and kind of think about some of the things I have taken away from this discussion, and maybe ask each of you, if you were king or queen for a day, what would be the one thing that you would tell any business leader that they should really take away from this? And maybe Jamie, I'll start with you, but just do the same order of the speaking.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Tim, and thanks to the other panelists for your presentations. I appreciate them all, and a touch point to all of them. But I think investing in people and investing in emotions, and one of the things that we've talked about, Tim, I think you and I have had this conversation before. Like, if you can teach employees, you can and foster a world where they're vulnerable, where they're open to sharing, where they're open to, and then lead with that empathetic approach. Because Mike brought up a big point about we teach people, we do all these phishing, and everyone talked about it. We do these phishing examples, we do phishing tests, and why do we do them? We have to be empathetic that we've not been able to send an email securely or surf the web securely for the 30 years in existence that we've been on the web, or 40 years that we've been on the web now. And so why is it an accountant's position to be an email protector, guardian, and gateway of crap that's coming through their inbox? And we have to be able to have an empathetic approach to them. If I'm asking you now to be a cyber professional and an accountant and a claims processor and a whatever your role is. And so I think if I king for the day, I'd have everyone look at it with a different lens. And it's not just about cyber, it's about empathy, it's about understanding, it's about vulnerability, it's about expressing and exposing and having real discussions with your teams and your organizations and your CEOs to be able to do a top-down approach of leading with those types of examples. So there's mine.
That's a good one. Thank you for that. Andreas, sir, what would you be?
I concur. I concur with Jamie. It's about inclusivity. Make the people a part of the solution. If you do that, you're going to have other tangible benefits to every other area of their business. They're going to show up more often, do their kind of core job. I mean, I don't want to sound like cybersecurity and hygiene is not their job. That is their job, but they got a million other things that they're primarily focused on. Make them part of the solution, because then cognitively they start lighting up different areas that open up other possibilities. Like Jamie's example again about the nurse that helped him. Here we are. I don't know, Jamie, how long was it that I did miss? Like 15, 20 years, right?
40 years, 30 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, it's in mid 90s, you said, right?
Yeah, mid 90s, yeah.
So, and it's still making an impression that we have the opportunity to, even the reason why I chose the title experience officer, it's not like, be careful what I say here. It's not like the other people out there that are chief experience officers and they worry about CSAT surveys and all that. No, experience is experiential in the environment that we create for everybody. And it doesn't matter what their role is. It doesn't matter if they're cleaning services in an office building or the CEO of the office building. Guess what? I'm going to talk to them the same way. I'm going to be the same. I almost said something wrong there. Smart butt that I would be to everyone, but I treat them and give them the message they need to hear. It's the same thing with the employees, and you have to look at it from a mathematical perspective. Who are the ones that have, and again, when you talk about CRMs, there's a lot of users that have CRM access. So how can you make them a part of the solution? How can you involve them? Even if it's, I don't want to say superficial, but small in the realm of quantity in cyber IQ. from a technical perspective, to them, you're reaching out to them. That's something that's really important. If you present it, like Jamie was saying too, and you communicate it the right way, they're going to be vested in it and they're going to give you more of that effort back. Make it about the people. Find a way. It's not, by the way, I'm a caveat and I end with this so I can give it to Dan. Otherwise, I'm going to drone on forever. It's not easy. None of this stuff that we're talking about is easy. If it was, we wouldn't even do this hour-long webinar. We would just send you the, things that we would I was gonna say cyber ransom and say, hey, here's a secret list you can have for $100,000. It's yours. It's not easy. It's complex. It involves people on the cyber criminal side and on the people side that prevent. And you got to figure out how can you connect with the people that help prevent it and deter this behavior so the frequency and veracity of this behavior minimizes. It's all about the people.
Thanks, Andreas. Mr. Dan.
Thanks, guys. As Jamie and Andreas have been talking about the people side and the emotional side of all this, and Mike made an excellent point that most of the threats and scams and things that are going on in the world today are vulnerabilities based on people. So, several things. One, that is 100% true. People are clicking on things. These threats tend to have an emotional threat where it's I need this now. There's a rush to having to click on something because I'm in a meeting or I need this urgently type response. So the people side is really important in training people on what's going on in this industry, but also having the proper IT in place where, yes, I just clicked on a link, I inputted my credentials, and a hacker is now in my email. So an organization that has a simple tool that will identify that somebody is logged in from outside your area and has breached your email will lock out that bad actor immediately and not allow them to stay in your email and scam you. Having some basic things deployed to your device so that when you accidentally click on something like Zero Trust will block it immediately. So a combination of training and educating your staff with some good IT. So the good IT is really a couple things. One is it starts with the bottom of the pyramid is just having a good IT team. Then from there, you need a basic advanced security stack that helps prevent some of these incidents. Then we go on to compliance and having policies in place that help protect your organization. From there, depending on your level of compliance, you can have a VSO, Virtual Chief Security Officer, working with you to help educate and prevent and manage the process around this. So a combination of all these things is what you need, along with some good cybersecurity insurance. So Mike, that's teeing you up.
No, that's a good point there. And Mike, what would you end with?
My point's kind of twofold. Number one, I would encourage everyone to review if they have cyber insurance. Make sure that you've got a quality product in place or reach out to an expert. If you don't have it, strongly encourage you to consider shopping for it and purchasing it. And then kind of tying in with what everybody else is saying, investing in the people, the training, because so much of this is human error driven, investing in those resources for risk management and empowering your people to know how to navigate situations, know what to look out for. Those are kind of the two key takeaways that I would encourage everyone to go after.
Well, this is great. And I won't beat the drum anymore because I think you guys have done a great job on it. And I think to close, for our audience out there, I would strongly recommend if you have questions about this on the technology side or any of the issues that we were talking about, Dan Hernandez at PCS Technology is an amazing resource that can be very effective in helping you with evaluating your existing cybersecurity profile and tools. Mike and the team at Heffernan, I've worked with them directly. I would highly recommend them as a reach out if you have any questions about either your existing cybersecurity policy or you want to get one. I would tell you from my own personal experience, the team did an amazing job working with us here at Transform CX. And then Andreas and Jamie, as available as resources and authors. We didn't talk a lot about Andreas and his great novel, Stop Doing Stupid Stuff, but it's right there with what we're talking about, which is, pay attention to the little things because that's what gets you in trouble every time. And as all of us are available and contactable, we'll definitely put our resource contact information out there. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for an amazing hour plus of your time and your experience and your energy. This is such a strong topic, and it is not getting the visibility that it deserves. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.